Welcome to the Fantasy Fangirls Podcast, where two sisters dive deep into beloved fantasy lore, characters, themes, theories, and more.
I'm Lexi, older sister and fantasy lore nerd.
And I'm Nicole, younger sister and romantic at heart.
And today is a special deep dive into 3 big theories from Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, live from Romantasy BookCon.
Now you might be saying, wait, it's Monday. Where's the deep dive? Worry not, friends. Our Onyx Storm Deep Dive episode 5 will be coming your way this Thursday. After returning from LA, Lexi unfortunately was quite down for the count and quite sick. So we needed a few extra days to bring you episode 5.
But huzzah! We had this audio recording ready to share with you all today.
So without further ado, let's dive deep into our 3 biggest Onyx Storm theories from Romantasy BookCon Live.
Welcome to the Fantasy Fangirls Podcast, where two sisters dive deep into beloved fantasy lore, characters, themes, theories, and more! I'm Lexi, older sister and fantasy lore nerd.
And I'm Nicole, younger sister and romantic at heart.
And we are the Fantasy Fangirls.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. How is everyone's day going so far as a Romantasy BookCon?
Amazing.
All right, yes. I love that.
Well, we really do appreciate you being here for our live show today. We are so excited to dive into Onyx Storm and discuss specifically 3 big questions about what's next, then have fun all together with some rapid fire theories. Who's ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, one thing, though, before we kick off today's, I almost said episode, live show, of course, we do need to give you a bit of a spoiler warning, a very big spoiler warning.
Very big spoiler warning. A considerable length spoiler warning.
That was for my husband. Sorry, there's a joke there. Never mind. All right. Spoilers for all of Onyx Storm today. So Onyx Storm, Iron Flame, and Fourth Wing, we really can't stress this enough. We will be talking about plot twists and the end of the book for the next hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, with that said, if you do not know what I mean when I say we are going through every possible brother you can ever imagine, if you don't know what I mean, then you are choosing your own fate by sitting in your seat. If you do know what I mean, then great. You're here. You're in a good space.
Yes. If you need to leave, we totally understand. Our feelings will not be hurt. And this is going to be recorded, so you can always tune in after you finish the show.
Yeah.
The book. My head is not in the right space right now. Okay. Also, if you're familiar with us at Fantasy Fangirls, you know we are adults who say adult things about adult books. In other words, friends, our podcast and today's live show is rated R.
Listen, you know us. You hopefully love us. We do not have the cleanest mouths. So, just in case there are little listening ears, I'm not seeing any, but in case they're hiding under the tables,
that
again,
does happen, yes.
They are choosing their own fate by being here. So please do be mindful of said listening ears. Now it's time. It is time to be some menaces.
All right, let's kick this party off with some fun speculation. Let's call it a warm-up for today's theory talk. What do the...
It was a warm-up, and then it was like 20,000 words. It felt like...
What do the Zelna gifts mean? What do the Zelna gifts mean? Because Rebecca Yarros did share with us that each of the gifts was there for a purpose.
So let's start with the rapid-fire gifts first. And by this, I just mean not Zayden or Violet's gifts. And not broccoli, because I did like a lot of words on an orange tabby cat, apparently. So Mira received a bottle of wine. And I am convinced that her and Drake shared that bottle of wine. Yes. Did some horizontal hanky-panky with said wine. Wait, maybe not with the wine.
stir the wine as a consequence. Who gives us microphones?
And that is my headcanon, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
So real quickly, because you're speaking in the past tense.
I am.
You are under the impression by the end of Onyx Storm, this has already happened and their romance is happening like off page.
Yeah, yes. I think you're the odd one out here, Lex.
Okay, hold on. Who's with me here? Thank you. We gotta see a little bit.
Oh, okay, raise your hand if you think Drake and Mira have already gotten together. I feel very validated right now. Raise your hand if you think that they have not gotten together, but it is going to happen eventually.
I think that's pretty 50-50.
Fine, big sister, I'll give you that one. All right, Marin received 2 bright orange tunics, which is the same kind of garb that the Zelny wear on the island. Do you think that this is like a fashion statement? They're like, Marin, you need some help? Or do you think that she needs to do like an undercover mission back to Zelna? Or maybe one of the so they get 40,000 troops, or they get 40,000 soldiers from this island who come over to the continent. Maybe one of those troops needs a leader, and in order to be said leader, you have to wear the outfit. And so it's a costume.
Well,
I'm really stretching here.
Okay, so Kelsey from our Discord also mentioned how Marin has 2 little brothers. They're twins, right? So she got 2 tunics. What if they could possibly be useful to them somehow, some way?
Somehow, some way. That is a head scratcher, is
that
how
sure
I look at
is.
that. Not so much a head scratcher, but a head slapper is Dane got slapped. I truly don't think there's going to be any future repercussions as Zane was like, I'm more, what did he say? He was like, I'm more concerned about the repercussions of that slap. I don't think Zane's like, can I speak? I don't think Dane is concussed or anything. But I wonder if it is more of truly Zanal saying, now you're even with Violet. That's my headcanon. Or at least now, readers, are you okay with Dane?
Yes. It's a little bit, the last little cherry on top we needed before we could collectively move on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I feel a little responsible for how much hate Dane got. Considering one of our most popular phrases was God fucking damn it, Dane. And Rebecca was like, guys, Dane's not that bad. And we're like, pitchforks, ready to destroy.
Okay, she approved our new GFDD, which is Golly Freaking Daddy Dane. So,
yes. Now, Permanently Exhausted Penguin, which is an amazing name on our Discord, did bring up a really good point. Dane was physically touched. So if he has been improving his signet, just beyond cupping someone's face, so basically
with 2 hands.
Basically if someone was able to touch him and he was able to read memories from that way, do you think that Dane somehow, that was the gift from Zanal? It was like, oh, here's a memory.
I think I like that. However,
I don't think you do.
I like it, but I really do think that one was for the readers.
I love the idea behind it, especially because Arik could have said, sit down, Dane, you don't need to go on this mission. I have all the knowledge you need to, but he didn't. So maybe Arik foresaw a reason that, I love the gasp. This is all Permanently Exhausted Penguin. I cannot take credit for this. But maybe he foresaw some reason that Dane needed to be on this mission, and maybe it was learning something from a millisecond of a slap.
Very possibly.
Maybe he just knew that Dane was going to get slapped, and he was like, this will be fun.
Yeah. Well, so while we're on gifts that also provide some comedic relief, Riddick got kissed. I don't know if I see any other symbolism here other than, of course, that would happen to Riddick, right? He is blessed by Zanal, and Zanal really does love him.
Well, because you mentioned this yesterday. He's also someone who is more frequent to say, thanks Zanal, or I'll say pray to Zanal, or talk to Zanal necessarily. So maybe Zanal's like, thanks, boo.
Yeah, exactly.
Next, Garrick receives a rusty bucket. I'm truly at a loss here, y'all. Is this symbolism? Is this Zanal saying you're a piece of trash, get your head out of your ass and get with Imogen? That's the farthest.
The Garrick girls are gonna come after you right now.
I'm one of them. I looked up any possible meaning behind the symbolism of buckets, because that's my job, apparently. And I couldn't find anything relevant. Now, I think that we talked about this in either episode 3 or 4 of Onyx Storm.
It's episode 4 that comes out on Monday.
I love that you have the receipts. I love you so much. So maybe this is more of a gift for his dragon Crod, because we have speculated how on earth these writers go to the bathroom on these 8+ hour flights, because that's a long time to hold your pee.
Really, though? And so we were wondering, maybe the guys, I'm so sorry for what I'm about to say, but they just whip their dicks out and they pee on the side of their dragons, and then their dragons get mad because they're peeing on their scales, and so maybe that is an ongoing issue between Garrick and his dragon.
So this is his piss bucket.
Moving on. Arik receives a broken hand mirror. That's a little nerve-wracking right there, because breaking a mirror is superstitious for 7 years of bad luck. That's not good, right?
No, it's not.
However, in literature, a broken mirror does symbolize loss of identity, which really does fit with Arik. He is dancing between two worlds. He's really wanting to be a writer. He's a powerful writer. And, of course, his innate responsibilities as a prince. And he, again, has just he's just manifested one of those powerful signets we've ever seen, right? So what if this mirror is to symbolize him in this stage of life, being unsure of what role he needs for his future?
Yeah. I like that way better than 7 years of bad luck for my guy Arik. Yeah.
Well, we'll get to the whole brother theory here shortly.
Dun, dun, dun. Now, Lisor on our Discord also mentioned how in Rome, the Romans believed that mirrors, if you looked in a mirror, it took away a part of your soul. And breaking a mirror would trap your soul inside said mirror forever. So if Arik is the new brother, loss of a soul, the mirror, so maybe it's almost I'll call it foreshadowing for him losing part of his soul at the end of the book.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm so nervous for Arik. Because he also cuts himself on this mirror. Yes. So I'm is something is blood magic going to come into this? That is a half-formed thought.
Yeah, we don't know if there is blood magic, because Ree did say back in Iron Flame, there doesn't seem to be that in this world. So,
but I will say that when Violet, I think it's when she first gets Warwick's journal, she makes a note of I didn't realize the first 6 did some kind of blood magic.
Yeah, and they're like, that doesn't sound right. So,
but it's Rebecca Yarros, so you never know. I don't know. This is what happens when we go off script. We're like, oh my God, what about this? So I do want to skip ahead a little bit and talk about poor Traeger, because I am assuming his gift of shot through the heart was just because Quest Squad needed to go off course to bury his body on an abandoned isle, thus leading us to the Irids.
Burn his body.
Yes. So I do wonder, however, if there is a hidden second meaning to this, because him and Kat were together. R.I.P. Their relationship and him. But what if, so that's dark, sorry. What if he needed to get, I'm going to call it out of the way, which is very permanent out of the way, for Kat to get with a new partner? Because Kat receives a giant ruby necklace, which, welcome to Gem Watch, not ACOTAR version, Onyx Storm version. In medieval Europe, rubies are worn to guarantee health, wealth, wisdom, and success in love. It also can symbolize romance. So why would she be gifted something that is literally here's success and love, and then shot through the heart? That sucks. So what if Traeger was killed to make way for a new, I'm going to call it even more powerful match for Kat? Like Arik? Okay, wait, who's an Arik and Kat fan here? Okay. She wants a crown. She does want a crown. She also hates Navarre. She does need a crown. She needs a lot of things like therapy. But however, this gift of a ruby could also be foreshadowing for Kat's eventual rise to the Paromish throne. She is third, I guess now second, in line, and that would be kind of sad, because that means our big sister Serena is gone, and that would be le sad. But also, it also means Takaris is gone too, but I'm assuming that guy's just on his way.
Oh, Corden is definitely going down, and... Yeah, there's way too much foreshadowing that it's standing. It's not going to make it through the series.
When they're flying into Corden, Violet's like, I can't believe this place is still standing. And I'm just like, ah! Oh, God. Now, however, there is another mention in this world that a person who we associate rubies with, and that is the Duchess of Moraine, who is another person who symbolizes power, status, and wealth. So it also just could be tying the power, status, and wealth to cat for us.
Yep.
TBD.
Lastly, before we get to Xaden and Violet's gifts, told you we deep dive, right? We need to talk about Broccoli, the orange tabby cat that has taken the internet and this audience by storm. And we did get Rebecca to promise us that Broccoli will not be killed in the series. Oh my gosh, you have the Broccoli sticker.
Oh my God. So when we interviewed Rebecca Yarros in Denver, she's in the middle of saying an answer, and then she just looks at the stage and she goes, "Are those broccolis?"
Yeah, people are like throwing the broccolis, and it's like, that's the first time anyone's thrown a vegetable on a stage, and it's like a good thing, right? Yeah. So she did promise that Broccoli will not be killed, and yes, so Broccoli is the only one, besides, I assume, Jasenia, because it is written by her at the very end, that is safe, because she said she wouldn't kill a cat.
She will kill a dragon, though, is what she said.
Yeah, she's got quite a line to draw, yeah. And we also know, for anybody wondering, where is Broccoli? Broccoli is safe with Drake and Corden. She did confirm that for us, too.
Now, as much as I love the theories that state Broccoli will defeat the venom and save the world, I don't see that happening.
That's the children's book version
Tell
of
me
this
you
theory.
have 2 kids. Now tell me you have 2 kids. So let's talk instead about the symbolism behind an orange tabby cat. Y'all, I went so deep in this.
I made her cut like 1,000 words out of this.
So the symbolism behind this cat is really all over the place. There's anything from like friendliness, affection, and like wiseness to risky behavior that results in death. One of these things is not like the other. So what could Broccoli mean in our story? He could be an extension of Drake's personality. He's friendly, he's affectionate, he's also risky. He is in the Nightwing drift, so it makes sense. He could be a bridge for Mira to start loving the cat and then thus loving Drake and vice versa. It's almost like their little baby that they take care of together. That's so cute. See, I'm the romantic of the two of us, absolutely. A member from our Discord, though, Lena, mentioned how Broccoli is going to scratch people, and if they don't bleed, venom. Boom. It's like a Broccoli the venom finder. I'm going to work on his name, but we'll get an emblem.
All right, now let's get to the big ones. Xaden receives a glass box the size of his foot, so very big, with pewter hinges and edges.
That was the wrong time to drink water. So what could this box possibly mean? Was it just a convenience plot device for the dagger to be in said box, and then Violet is seeing the missing gem, her future wedding ring, all that kind of stuff? The hinges are made with pewter, and pewter symbolizes seriousness and practicality, which is pretty on par for Xaden in especially Onyx Storm. So was this just for practicality's sake? I do think that it's something that Violet in book 4, she's gonna be in Erasure. She might just be looking at this box constantly, and it's like this it's this permanent reminder of Xaden other than the hole in her heart.
Well, it's like they call it the box of nothingness, right?
Oh.
And so it's like, I know, right?
Now, there are some theories that this is a magical box, and it can transport items. I almost think about it like I can only think of it like the vanishing cabinet from Harry Potter, but it's vanishing cabinet. I can't say it normally. So, and I love that idea that there's somewhere a second box of nothingness, and that is gonna come into our story. Maybe. I don't know, maybe. But you know what I love more than a vanishing cabinet?
What's that?
A fucking fantasy compass. I love a fantasy compass. Oh my God. So we have to talk about this major air quotes broken compass.
So let's first address the obvious. Violet is the one who says that the compass is broken because it doesn't point north. But when she receives it, she gets like a subtle smirk from the gifter, and he says, quote, "Use it wisely." So I think most of us fandom are in agreement that this is not just a broken compass, and it will instead play a vital role in a future book. Everybody else, we're all in agreement there?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anyone here who's like, you guys, it's just a fucking compass? Like, are you okay? Okay, thank you for validating. Thank God. Now, before we get into how this is going to come back into our story, I do want to pull moments from the series that compasses have been mentioned. First and foremost, the classified signet patch, so what Dane has, what Imogen have, all that kind of stuff, it's a compass.
Which, like, that...
Like, I don't know how those things go together, but like, oh my God. I love it. Now, Violet also now has a very classified second signet. In chapter 46 of Onyx Storm, Xaden walks into a room and his gaze immediately jumps to Violet, quote, like a compass pulled north. Her compass did not point to north earlier, so I feel like that's just an instant tie-in of Xaden, Violet, compass to each other. And also on the map of your Empyrean books, there is a compass on the top. Now, it's not out of the question for a map to include a compass that points north, like, go figure. But this compass does have waves on it. So, Lexi.
Yes.
Do you think we're going to finally go to the Emerald Sea
Yes.
with this compass?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I want to go to the Emerald Sea so badly. It's my new Isle Kingdoms. Or your Isle Kingdoms, my second equivalent uprising.
Your second equivalent uprising, amazing. Now, the irony is that the compass is in the north part of the map. So it also just could be tying, again, north to the compass. A general consensus among the fandom is that this compass is going to have something to do with Violet finding Xaden next book. But a lot of people are thinking it's going to be like the compass from Pirates of the Caribbean, for instance. Like you like open, okay, wait, show of hands. Who's on this theory?
I just figured this out.
So that is definitely a possibility. But something we've learned from deep diving Rebecca Yarros in many, many hours is that it's always like maybe 60% that, and then there's this 40% twist that you never would have thought of.
Yes.
Or you're just 100% wrong. So I don't see it being, it's either or. It's gonna be either or.
Yep.
Now, I personally don't know if I'm on the it's going to point to what her heart most desires. Simply, again, for that reason, and also because we've seen it in multiple fantasy stories, and Rebecca does tend to divert expectations in that way. So there's also that use it wisely that you mentioned, that the Zelny says. And for me, I hear use it wisely, and I'm like, it sounds like a one-time only use.
See, I didn't get that vibe at all.
Really?
but-
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just losing my mind over fantasy books, which is not out of the question. Now, I do wonder if this compass has to be like activated or imbued, or it's like,
Or it could be part of a rune, like we were talking about that, how it is like considered like
Forgot about this.
material for a rune to be tempered into, and then that brings a new purpose to the compass.
So then it could be a multifunctional compass. So you can temper any.
I've never seen you get so excited.
I'm so
about compass.
excited. I fucking love a compass. But you could temper like, hey, find like you know how you go into Google and you type in Google Maps specifically, and you type in like, this is my location. What if you type in like, I want to find Lexi as my location, and then it points to you? That's cute.
Sure, that wasn't the direction I was going in, but sure. Okay,
All right.
that's enough of the.
Well, there's one more. Because there is a theory that this compass is going to only be able to be used in her dreams.
That's right.
Which, that is delicious. I love that. Now
well-
you can move to the next theory.
Well, speaking of dreams, what is the full extent of Violet's second signet? Because Rebecca also told us that we currently only know about 10% of it. Like 10% of it. That is mind-blowing. Get it? Mind-blowing. At this point in the story, here is what we know about Violet's second signet of dreamwalking. It means Violet can enter people's dreams. She either experiences the dream as the person who is dreaming, or she learns how to do it, or as she learns how to do it toward the end of Onyx Storm, she can snap out of being the dreaming person and exist in her own body. When she does this, she realizes it's not only her dream, but it's someone else's. And she's also able to communicate in that dream. She does that with Xaden. And so then when someone is dreaming, or at least for Xaden, he feels like someone is watching over him in the dream. It's like he can feel that someone else is there, which is of course her. And very importantly, it seems that she can alter the course of action within the dream. For instance, in one of Xaden's dreams, he wanted to channel, but Violet made him raise his hand instead. So Violet's dreamwalking signet doesn't just let her see what's happening in dreams, she can also communicate within them and manipulate what happens in dreams. And that is 10% of what it is. What? Violet has never heard of this signet ability before, and for how well-educated she is, it's a safe assumption that this signet has never been recorded in history before. Keyword is recorded. As Xaden explains, dreamwalking is a type of intrinsic, which shines a light on why the Irids describe her signet as an extremely dangerous weapon. Violet's second signet enables her to look into people's subconscious while they are incapable of shielding a mind signet. This makes her extremely dangerous, and Xaden warns her that she cannot tell anybody about her second signet because, again, it's a form of intrinsic. I'm going to pause here for 2 seconds because if you are familiar with us at Fantasy Fangirls, you know that Nicole and I have quite a few Onyx Storm bets. And while she outright said that she did not think that Violet was a dreamwalker, you did say you thought that she was an intrinsic.
Did.
And a lot of people, probably some of you in this room, have said that counts as winning the bet. Now, we could get into semantics, but honestly, we don't have time to do that right now. So, with Rebecca's insight that we only know 10% of her signet, it has us all thinking, of course, there's got to be more to this dreamwalking intrinsic signet of hers. So, Nicole.
Yes, Lexi.
You're just way too excited.
I am.
For the sake of our listeners, I am willing to let this audience here decide once and for all if you won that bet that Violet's second signet is an intrinsic.
Everyone was like slouching and they just sat up like we have called you to war.
All right. If you think that it, I'll say, does not count and Nicole does not win this bet, which, by the way, I'm actually going to tell you what the bet is afterward because I don't want that to have an impact on this. Okay.
She's being strategic in this decision.
If you think that it does not count, then make some noise. Okay. If you think that it does count and Nicole should win this bet, let's hear it. All right.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
What a good stage. Did you all know that this is where the first Academy Awards was? Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. All right, so that means I have to read a cringe-worthy scene selected by our fan club on a live Q&A.
All right, so Fantasy Fan Club, I want you to start going through your files of all the cringe-worthy scenes you want to hear Lexi's sultry voice to. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
All right, you win.
Yes!
Because we know so little of Violet's second signet, who wants to theorize what else it might entail? I think at the very least, she and Xaden will be able to communicate via dreams in the next book now that they are apart. Think Crescent City 2. I won't say anything more for the sake of spoilers, but if you know, you know.
Here's what I know for sure. We are getting dream sex next book. And I am feral for this. I'm so excited. Now, we do not know yet if she can walk into others' dreams while she's awake. But my guess is that once she hones this, absolutely. Like, she could stroll through the halls of Asgaiath or the administration building. She could see Daddy Athos's dreams. Yeah, right. Or not. Now, if she's able to walk into her enemies' dreams, she could also drudge up people's worst fears, or she can meddle in their dreams. Like, I'm not even going to try to speculate because I'm not that creative on stage in front of a lot of people. So, Eve_Edmund on TikTok does go a few steps further, I'll say, and she theorizes that Violet's second signet is actually mind walking, where she can literally just walk into other people's minds, including when people are awake and when she is awake, so not just asleep anymore. A major example is the throne scene. My favorite scene. There are multiple hints also in Onyx Storm that Violet and Xaden's bond does go deeper than their dragon mate bond. So also the mind walking in that scene could have been, it was just easier to go into Xaden's mind the first time, but I don't know, I like that idea. I think that'd be fun. But then at that point I'm just like, what's the difference between that and intrinsic? That is the question.
Wields lightning in someone's dream.
What happens if she kills someone in their own
right
dream?
there. Yeah, right.
My brain does not have the capacity to handle that at the moment. So that's amazing.
I've also wondered if her signet has a precognition factor to it. Yeah. I know that we have Auric, of course, but I can't stop thinking about how in Marin's dream that she went into, Marin's family portrait burned, and then it turned into her family, and then literally hours later, her parents did burn by Theophanie's Wyvern in Newhall. So the question for us is, does her signet influence what happens in the dreams, or does her signet simply allow her to walk into the dream already happening? So, Marin's precog. Oh, we have not thought about that. They do. They do. I had not considered that before.
My brain just went dial tone.
I love that.
Oh my God,
Thank
I love
you.
that idea. That's so cool.
We've also seen several versions of the theory that Violet's second signet is like a chameleon and can change. The general idea is that Violet can change her signet kind of like how Indarna's magic changes when she changes colors. Because Indarna is magic and there is so much unknown about her kind of dragon, this could extend to Violet's signet manifested from an Irid too. It could also explain why the other Irids are so mad at Indarna gifting Violet the powers that she did. It's so dangerous because the possibilities are truly endless, and they don't want their kind of magic gifted to humans.
Well, now it also explain why we only know 10%. So, like for instance, maybe every 10% is a different color of Indarna.
Are you really bringing math into today?
Not on purpose.
But yes,
I'm shutting that down. Now I'm getting into fractions and percentages. I'm so excited. Rebecca has also mentioned when she was in Denver that there is only one person who can teach her how to hone this signet. And when we were on stage, my mind immediately went to Xaden.
Me too.
Okay.
It usually does go to.
That's my line. Now, any kind of dream apprentice mentorship would just be amazing and delicious, especially considering he is the only intrinsic that we know of, at least. And we know that dream walking is a form of intrinsic. Thank you, audience. That makes me so happy. Now, so it would make sense that he's the only one who can teach her. And also, Professor Zaddy, dream version, yes. Sounds amazing. But after getting off stage, my mind started going a little bit more on this, and it dawned on me it also could be Berwyn, because it is not stated in the book, but I think we're mostly all in agreement that Berwyn is most likely a dreamwalker, absolutely. So it's like, especially because after Violet walks into Xaden's dream, this is after Indarna leaves, which I don't even have time to comprehend how that works today. Berwyn says to her, quote, "It's nice of you to join us, Lightning Wielder, or should I call you Dreamwalker?" Like, it sounds like it takes one to know one situation. Then there's when he says to Violet right after, quote, "And here I'd hope you be a quicker learner. How disappointing." So that to me is like, I am your mentor, excuse me. So how would Berwyn teach her, though? Because I don't see Violet hanging with Berwyn.
Through Xaden?
And so that's what, I wonder if it's like through the dream. So if almost, which
or
does
what
make
if
me
she
kind of
goes to get to, because she'll probably go after Xaden, and what if he's with Berwyn and somehow that happens?
True. I do love the idea of if it is through the dreams, it's like Violet is getting mentored in Xaden's dream through Berwyn, and Xaden's just basically chilling off in the corner, just like, this is my dream, guys. But we also did get from Theophany, like, that she really wanted to obviously be Violet's mentor. Theophany's dead, which kills me. That was poor choice of words. But, like, it's so sad that Theophany's dead, so she no longer can be Violet's mentor in that way. There's one other possibility that I see here, and that is another with a super trained mind signet who apparently is a really powerful writer. What the fuck? Dane. Which I could totally see, because their relationship is so much closer now. Like, I do feel like they're finally in the point where they could be that mentor-mentee, and that trust is there, absolutely.
Especially, well, with a mind signet is a whole other level, too.
Well, but then that goes into the idea of it is Dane. Dane is not the greatest at breaking rules, so I see this going one of two ways. She tells Dane, and it's rule follower Dane, and he's like, goodbye. I don't see that happening. The more probable option is instead Dane this is part of his character development.
I think that's been part of his whole redemption arc,
exactly.
Is how he is breaking the rules to follow what is right, and in this case, it would be right. I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, it's the exact same. Like, it would be almost like him finally putting his best friend over the rules.
Yes.
And that is really like the arc of that. So I'm going to ask you all, who do you think this person is that Rebecca is referring to that can be the one and only mentor for Violet?
Daddy Atos. Like the bad daddy or the good bad daddy? Which, I was very mortifying that I had to explain that to Rebecca Yarros on stage in front of 2,000 people.
That was terrifying. Wait, like Dane? No, Daddy, it's
Because we don't know his signet, because Rebecca refused to tell us.
I have questions about that. For today's assignment, raise your hand if you think it is Berwin, who can be the one person. Okay. Raise your hand if it's Dane. Okay.
All right.
And let's just make some noise if you think it's Zaddy. Okay, make some noise if you think it's Berwin. Go back to Berwin. Okay. All right, Berwin, I like it. While we are on second signets, I do want to just a little touch on marked 1 second signets, because we now know Garrick's, Imogen's, and Zayden's, and R.I.P. Liam. We know he wielded ice. But as far as marked ones who we don't know, the list is as follows. Sloane, who she right now has siphoning, but I'm assuming she might get a second one.
I think that we might I don't know.
Okay, you can marinate on that for a second.
Very helpful.
I don't know. And the second one is Bodhi. And that's all of the named marked ones that we do not know about if they have a second signet or not. Right?
Correct, because the other ones unfortunately passed
dead.
away, yeah.
So we know that if someone is a marked one, that does not necessarily mean they have a second signet, but for fun and shits and giggles, let's just speculate. So starting with Sloane, there are a couple theories that say Sloane's second signet would be mending, especially because of the trauma from killing Lilith and then needing to heal Mira. So it's almost like that was how it manifested. I also love the theory that she would manifest ice. And it would be like another, I'm so sorry, twist the knife, Nicole. But it would almost be like another tie-in for her and Liam. But the person I really want to talk about is Bodhi. Because there's this, I want to entertain the idea for 1 second that he does have a second signet and he's just lying. I'm seeing a lot of head nods. I think a lot of people are in that boat. So he does say, quote, "I don't have one, just like Zayden." That just like Zayden makes me stay up at night. Oh my God. Because Zayden obviously does have a second signet, but Rebecca has confirmed that the only people who know about it are Zayden and Violet.
Yeah.
So meaning, I don't think it has that double meaning to it. So here's what I actually think is going to happen to Bodhi. We know that you either get a second signet or you go mad. I think Bodhi's the mad boy. The mad boy. And we're going to get into this in a second, but if he is the Venom brother, he would not only go mad, he would have a signet that counters signets, and he'd be Venom. That's a bad cocktail. I don't like that. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, that brings us to today's biggest Onyx Storm question that is on everybody's mind. Who is the new brother?
I swear to Amari, this feels like the new Violet second signet, and I'm like,
definitely
we just did this!
But at least with this big end of book question, there are not literally dozens of possibilities. Instead, we have several top contenders who, yes, we will be going through them right now. If we were here for the second signets, we would have been here all night.
All day. So let's first and foremost go through everything that we know about this new brother.
Yes.
Number one, they have watched Zayden for 5 months struggle with venonism. So I hear this, especially because the phrasing of watched in Zayden's POV, it means, in my opinion, it has to be Garrick or Bodhi. Or...
That's what she might want you to think.
Well, or someone who would have known about Zayden but didn't officially tell him, like Arik. Yep. Number two, they are someone who was in the thick of the fighting, and their dragon was either injured and thus unconscious, or struck unconscious by a venom/wyvern.
Sorry. It's like, how are you making dragon unconscious? Anyway, separately, we can infer that the green dragon Berwin kills must be Panchek's green clubtail.
Correct, yes.
Just based on the context of the passage and all of that.
Number three, it is someone who Zayden cares deeply about, and enough about that Berwin would be able to use this brother as leverage for Zayden. Zayden desperately does not want this brother to stumble down the same path. That's unfortunate for him.
Yeah, well, and along those same lines, it is the last person Zayden would have expected to turn. As he channels and his shadows destroy the surrounding wyvern, his destructive magic, quote, skims past the one who now thinks himself my brother, and he's unconscious from Zayden's shadows. Also, that part about, like, who thinks himself now my brother kind of gives me some pause with that language there. So, anyway, let's go through the contenders, shall we? From Xaden's chapter. Oh, wait, no, just kidding, not yet.
We have more evidence to lay out. Hold, please.
I do just want to real quickly touch on the idea about like the supposed to be dead. Based on the rest of the page and the context clues we get, Xaden's got to be talking about Berwyn. Berwyn was supposed to be dead because Xaden threw him into the ravine at the end of Iron Flame, and Xaden can't kill Berwyn because there's a strange Venin mentor and pupil bond between them, which is why Berwyn refers to his Venin as son, as he goes on to explain. So anyway, the next bit of information we have about the identity of this new brother is from our interview with Rebecca Yarros earlier this month. When we asked what we should pay attention to if we want to figure out who the new brother is, she said, and I'm going to quote the whole dang thing here, quote, "I would pay attention to who's missing at the end. I would pay attention to someone who feels like whatever they have been given is not enough, which is always the case when you turn Venin. When you turn Venin, it's always because you need to reach for power beyond your own. You weren't given enough power." Okay, quick pause. I can't believe she told us this information. Like, she was going to no, and it's like, okay, I know she's going to say no to this. And it's like, oh my God, you answered.
I'm pretty sure I even prefaced this question with, I know you can't tell me this, but I'm going to shoot my shot.
Yeah.
And then she did. Yeah. I was so excited. So lastly, we know from the Variety article that Rebecca Yarros did right after Onyx Storm's release, the question was, quote, is all the information we need to figure out who Xaden's Venin brother is at the end already in the book? Or is there stuff purposefully withheld that it makes it so that we couldn't decipher it until book 4? Rebecca Yarros answered, it's hinted at, but it's not laid out, because you're never in that person's point of view, so it's hinted at, which is not helpful. So let's go into who are our top contenders, starting with sweet brother Bodhi.
So he checks off the boxes for what we know about this new Venin brother. He has watched Xaden struggle from being a Venin these past 5 months. He is not mentioned on the page at the very end when we're back in Violet's POV. He was in the thick of the fighting, and he is a dragon rider. And lastly, Xaden truly cares for his cousin, and this is the last thing that he would want for him.
Bodhi is not mentioned among the writers at the end, but he's also, I'm gonna say he's not even mentioned on the page, which is not out of the question for Bodhi, because he's kind of the forgotten child. He's the middle child of the book. Violet, earlier in this book, thinks about how Bodhi is often forgotten about how powerful he is. Like, think about that moment after Battle Brief, where Violet's like, oh my God, like, no one thought of Bodhi. He would have been the perfect first contender, and it's kind of like, womp womp, so sad. Next, there's all this foreshadowing about from the beginning of the series about how Bodhi looks like a brother, or looks so much like Xaden. I think Violet multiple times she says like they could have been siblings or something like that. And we were under the impression that all of that foreshadowing was they're going to be brothers. They're going to be brothers. It's going to come out, the mystery grandmama that you went on for more hours than you would like to admit.
Whiteboard for that family tree.
And what if it's not an actual brother? Instead, it's a brother in this way, and it's instead the foreshadowing for him to be a brother in the Veninism way. Also, earlier in this book, Garrick says that Theophany requested Xaden and Bodhi, but we later learn she requested Xaden and brother, which we learn is Jack fucking Barlow, which, what a guy. It's just another instance of tying Bodhi and brother in the same sentence. Next, in Imogen's chapter, she also mentions how Bodhi and Cure are in trouble. Wyvern are trying to rip poor Cure, which is Bodhi's dragon, apart, and we also see that this dragon is unconscious at the end. Is the dragon unconscious because a wyvern tried to rip it to shreds, which is sad? Then also, Emma Halbrook on TikTok mentioned, she's freaking brilliant, first of all, everyone should follow her, and she noted how Bodhi and Violet are also fighting together, they're fighting at the final battle, and Bodhi learns that he's not powerful enough to counter Theophany's storm signet. Then at the end of Imogen's chapter, this is when she sees Bodhi like throwing up on the cobblestones, we note that the sky is starting to turn less dark. And then it's darker. Darker. And then we note how we're in Violet's POV, the tornado is gone. So it's almost like Bodhi pulled from the source, started throwing up, and then was able to counter Theophany's storm signet, hence why the tornado was suddenly gone. Possibly. Then more. In regards to Rebecca Yarros saying that the brother is someone who never feels like they're enough, that is a direct one-to-one comparison to Bodhi. Poor guy.
Well, one of our other questions for her was, can you expand on why Bodhi's song is I Look in People's Windows? And this was her answer. Quote, I think he's always on the outside, like he's always Zayden's shadow. She goes on to emphasize that he's the spare. This feels so on the nose with what she told us to pay attention to about the new brother. When she says it's someone who feels like whatever they have been given is not enough, I believe Rebecca is referring more to power and importance as a writer and a person, not necessarily as the heir to Tyrrendor, because we all know that Bodhi does not want that. But what about because he doesn't have a second signet, and the signet he does have doesn't work with theophany? In that case, he doesn't feel like what he's been given is enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And lastly, good God, there's a lot in this. So if Bodhi was still totally fine at the end of the book, why would Xaden insist on marrying Violet, making her the Duchess of Tyrrendor? Why not rely on plan A, which is Bodhi, and instead go to plan B, which is marriage?
Well, I think that was still part of his plan A, but it was just escalated a little.
Escalated a lot.
Well, so I know a lot of you are probably thinking about the big head scratcher to this theory that Bodhi is the new brother is the timeline we get at the end of Imogen's POV chapter. Once Garrick distance walks himself, oh my goodness, distant walks her to Trissa and Felix, Imogen sees Bodhi on his hands and knees retching with his dragon in the sky. Imogen then looks up to the sky right before the sky darkens further. Switching to what we know from Xaden's POV chapter, which we know at least overlaps somewhat with Violet's chapter 64, he describes how his shadows are, quote, rushing over Imogen as she looks to the sky, and his new brother and dragon are already present there in the canyon with them. So assuming this timeline is correct, Bodhi and his dragon can't be at the town square and the valley next to the canyon where Xaden is. Even if there is like a small time window between Imogen's chapter end and Xaden's chapter beginning, it's extremely unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely for Bodhi to be throwing up, then have enough time to fly south while his dragon has a huge slash in the chest and hole in his wing. If he channels from the source, possibly, but again, the timeline we currently have available to us makes it seem very unlikely given where Bodhi is. So yeah, however, all this to say, the timeline is also very vague and deceptive on purpose, and one of these days we will definitely map it out. I know that some of our friends have put together a fantastic spreadsheet, so we will take that and move with it. Yes,
Run
I
with
see
it.
You, Britt, right there. Britt. Yes.
So next, let's put Bodhi off to the side. Let's put Garrick up onto the pedestal. Rebecca did say pay attention to who's missing at the end, and Garrick is literally stated as the dude missing at the end, in addition to the dude, also in addition to Xaden. He also knows exactly what Xaden has been through the past 5 months after Garrick was really frustrated with Xaden in this book, so he could absolutely qualify as this person. I do feel like he was the closest and watched Xaden the closest as to like what the struggles were that he went through, so that also could be another reason why he's the last person he's expecting to turn. In the battle, Garrick is also super burnt out. So in Imogen's chapter, he says that he does not have enough power because he's walked so much. So there also could be that I need more power so I can continue walking. However, I personally saw this as more like I'm a dragon rider and I'm accepting my fate and my limits, so I'm just gonna go kick some ass out on the battlefield instead of like doo-doo-doo. That's my distance walking audio. Doo-doo-doo. Graphic audio if you need me. The main reason I also have a hard time getting behind Garrick is he doesn't fulfill the someone who doesn't feel like they're enough. Garrick's got swagger. He's a bro. Like, I don't see him as someone who's like, I'm not enough. Like, I do see that as Bodhi. What are these sounds?
Okay. Who wants to look behind door number 3 for the Venom brother?
Ta-da!
All right. When we're examining who's where and when in this chaotic timeline, Auric really does make the most sense as the new Venom brother. In chapter 58, right as the battle is about to begin at the cliffs of Drayler, Auric is, and I quote, seen flying south away from conflict. Taryn and Violet go on to say it's not like Auric or his dragon to run away from conflict. Auric isn't seen again for the rest of the book. And where is Xaden and this new brother chapters later? in the canyon south of Dratheus. So that checks out better than anyone else, including Bodhi and Garrick, about where he could be. Then there's the fact that this new brother watched Xaden struggle being Venom for the past 5 months. As far as Violet, and therefore the reader knows, Arik is not aware of Xaden turning Venom. However, Arik's signet is precognition, and it manifested before Quest Squad. So it is quite possible that Arik learned from his signet that Xaden is Venom. I'm not sure when this means Xaden found out that Arik knows he's Venom, because that doesn't seem like something he would keep from Violet. However, he is a powerful Intensic, so it's highly likely he knew about Arik's precognition signet before Violet figured it out on her own.
True.
Xaden also refers to Arik and Deverelli as someone he has complicated loyalty toward. Maybe he already knows that Arik knows he's a Venom. There's also the possibility that Arik turns Venom because he knows it is the only way to save the continent and defeat the Venom eventually. He is a character who feels a sense of responsibility to save everybody, and he's someone who will do whatever it takes to make that happen. Additionally, Arik fits the bill as someone Xaden would be shocked to turn Venom.
Yeah.
Arik has been steadfast in his fight against Venom, like another nobility figure, Xaden. He is the kingdom of Navarre's hope for a better future, as Xaden points out to him when they're at Umbriel, and Arik is wanting to participate in the challenge. And as convincing as it is for Arik to be the new Venom brother, at least for me, we also can't forget what Rebecca told us about the one who turned Venom doesn't feel like he's been given enough. Like Bodhi, Arik rejects the idea of leading as a nobility, but Arik doesn't really seem to fit like he's not enough or he isn't powerful enough. Like he does have everything he's wanted for himself.
Yeah.
So I don't see how this checks the box when that is what Rebecca was stressing so much to us.
He also, I keep on thinking back to that moment in sparring where it's like dragon sparring, I guess. They fly up on their dragon, they jump down, they destroy something that Kaori creates, and then they get back on their dragon.
Yeah.
It's a super small scene. But Arik is so quiet, and then he just demolishes everyone's attempt.
With the
and
axe, hammer,
because
yeah.
he throws the axe at Kaori. He throws the axe at Kaori instead of throwing it at the projection.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't exactly say he obviously doesn't think that he's not enough or anything like that, but he's so smart. He's so intelligent, and I just don't see him ever feeling like he's not enough in that way.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So 2 other rapid fire options are Sawyer and Riddick. They both knew about Xaden and his struggle, so that box is checked off. This would also be like a what, Rebecca? So it would definitely be the diverging our expectations. Sawyer definitely fulfills the feeling like they're not enough. He not only has one leg, and he's really dealing with that, but he's also a repeat, and he really struggled with feeling like Sleeg not only chose someone who was less than, but now is having to make compensations for their rider.
Well, and I will say, going back to how Xaden's they watched me struggle for 5 months.
Yeah.
These two found out later on, Riddick first and then later Sawyer. So they wouldn't have seen him knowingly be watching him as a Venom, but it would have been retroactively watching him as a Venom, if that makes sense. So, and I don't Riddick gets pissed that people, the one big thing for Riddick is that he does get mad that people don't give him enough credit, and he has to work extra hard to be taken seriously. Sure. So, but then he was also appalled by Xaden, and they had their whole talk, and so maybe he was the last person that Xaden would think would turn Venom. So, anyway.
He was on Quest Squad for 5 months, exactly. He does fulfill the watched me struggle a little bit more.
That's really semantics. Yeah,
it's really semantics. I'm giving him a lot right there.
Okay, friends. So, who of the 5 that we have mentioned, let's do a poll, okay? Who believes the brother is Riddick?
Let's make some noise. Who thinks they're Riddick?
Woo! Okay, we got a
2 woos. Woos. Who thinks it's Sawyer? Okay. A few more woos, if you will.
Arik?
Some confident woos over here. Yes.
Okay.
Garrick? I like that was like a roller. Woo! And last but not least,
Bodhi.
What do you think? Other.
I think it's Bodhi because it feels obvious, but then I think that there is something to be explained with the timeline issue that we have.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say otherwise maybe Arik because he was seen flying, but that also views like it's the opposite of obvious. Arik stole the eggs. He's the diplomat. See,
okay, so there's
maybe Garrick.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Garrick, but I love the idea that it also could be Arik. All right, friends, we
were going to talk about that, but we had to delete it because we are running out of time.
Speaking of, as we wrap up, we just went really deep into theories, like way more deep than we meant to when we first started this outline. So let's instead do some rapid fire, super fun theories with you all being our test subjects. You're welcome. So we're going to say a theory, and just like we have, you all are going to make some noise if you believe the theory.
All
cool?
right.
Are you ready to play? Yes. All right.
Did Sigale and Taryn break their bond by the end of the book? Ooh. All right. On that same note, did Sigale break the bond with Xaden?
Woo! Did Andarna travel to the Irid's den before coming back? No. Okay. Okay.
You can't have a live show without me mentioning Papa Sorengale. Do you think Papa Sorengale uncovered the truth about the Irids, and that's the Feathertails he is referring to? Woo!
I can only imagine people who were like the plus ones here. They're like, what the fuck was that? Oh my God. All right. Who is Andarna, or I guess Andarna is referring to the Irids at the very end when she says, I will not let them burn you. We haven't thought about that as far yet. I think that's the answer that we're seeing here.
You think that?
I definitely think that.
Okay. Is Xaden with the Venin? And I'll say, or is he on his own? Do you think he's with the Venin? Is Venin okay?
What about on his own? Okay.
I think he'll do his best to be on his own, but he'll kind of keep getting pulled back to Berwyn.
That's what I'm thinking, because he keeps getting summoned by Berwyn, and he now can't fight that.
I think he will, but he'll just have to keep going back.
It'll be like a tug of war.
Yes.
Yeah. So, who is the he that Theophany keeps referring to? Is it Naolan? I like the nose and then the woos.
Is it General Daramore?
Will Violet be fully dedicated to Dune by the end of the series? Oh, okay. I'm going to do a second one here on the fly. Do you think Violet is dedicated to multiple gods?
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one before. Mallet. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you, yes. All right, so we're going to go through who might be a higher-up Venin in Navarian leadership. Daddy Atos?
Yes. General Melgren.
King Tari?
Whoever just went, ooh. Markham.
Woo! Will we go to the Isle of Loyal?
Yes.
Oh, okay. On that same note, do you think that we will go to the Emerald Sea? Yeah, Kraken. I think that. Okay, real quickly.
I was gonna say, now give her the soapbox.
Okay, so I am convinced that we are going to go to the Emerald Sea, and we have gotten teased about there have been pirates there, right? And Dane used to be obsessed with them. And then in Fourth Wing, she was talking about how Krakens are real. And then, of course, there's Heaton with their signet of breathing underwater. So I like to think that in a future book,
No, I love this for you so much.
in a future book, we are gonna go to the Emerald Sea. We are gonna have pirates. We're gonna see a Kraken, and Heaton will save everybody.
I just thought of the idea, what if Dane goes off and does pirate life? Like, yo ho, yo ho. What if that's his ending? Someone write that fanfic. All right, lastly, we met quite a few new characters in this book. Make some noise if you think we're going to see them again. Xaden's mother, Talia.
Yes. Narelle from Devarelli.
All right. What about Grandmama Niara? There's your mystery grandmama,
I know.
Lexi. There you go.
Grandmama. King Cortland of Deverelli. Woohoo!
You think so?
I do.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, what about the triumvirate from Hedotus? I hope we see them and we just watch them maybe just die a little. I don't like them. They poisoned them. It was rude.
The Queen of Umbriel.
Oh, yeah. Calixta, who is, I'm going to call her the game maker in Zelna. Maybe she wears the orange tunic.
Last but not least, the basket bitch himself, Halden.
Yes!
Oh, look at that. We have 1 minute to spare. High five.
That was terrible.
Thank you so much, everyone. We are the Fantasy Fangirls. We really appreciate you coming here today, coming to this whole event. So many of you have traveled from all over, literally the globe, and we appreciate you being here with us so, so much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have, just last little thing here, I'll call it some housekeeping here. If you are not familiar with us and you want to hear more theories as well as lots of world building explanations, character analysis, foreshadowing, and just so much more about Onyx Storm as well as other books, check out our Deep Dive podcast episodes anywhere that you go for your podcasts as well as YouTube.
Yeah. We have episodes 1 through I'm apparently done talking for the day. We have episodes 1 through 3 of Onyx Storm currently out, and Onyx Storm episode 4 comes out on Monday.
Yes, indeed. New episodes every single Monday.
Yes,
like in a few days, exactly. And we're so excited. It's going to be just gloating in the Halden basket bitch glory. It's amazing.
Thank you guys so much. Can we give a huge thank you to Fabled Fantasy for putting on Romantasy BookCon real quick? Thank you. Yes. And it would not be an episode of Fantasy Fangirls if we did not shout out our executive producer, aka our sanity manager, Hayden!
And please be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Fantasy Fangirls Pod, TikTok, Instagram, all the things. And please, be sure to tag us too while you're here and you're seeing us and other friends and all that kind of stuff. We love it.
Thank you guys so much for coming!